This man arrives at the hospital after destroying an entire group of monsters in another dimension. His powers have just awakened, and the fight has drained all his stamina. The doctor clearly states that he needs rest to recover, but as soon as he's alone, a dark presence appears and beckons him. It tells him that if he wants her power, he must first make himself worthy of it. Lair is not at all happy with this. He contemplates how to get rid of this presence, but this very thought only enrages him further. The Shadow Monarch is fed up with his weakness. The Shadow Monarch lifts Lee into the air and throws him straight into a portal, warning him that if he doesn't reach Dank within 3 days, he will be completely erased. Lee is at a loss as to why he's in a strange cave instead of a comfortable hospital bed. A little while later, the truth is revealed. He's been teleported to an insect nest in another world for training, and he's left wondering why life is always so cruel to him. His parents died in an accident while working for a corporation. Instead of receiving compensation, he was burdened with their debts. Left with no other option, he chose the most dangerous job possible, working as a miner on another world. Just as he was beginning to get used to that life, everything fell apart again. During a mission, humanoid monsters appear and kill most of the miners. When the monsters blow up his truck, Lai notices something. They are afraid of fire. He takes advantage of this weakness too. He helps the remaining miners escape. They all enter a storage cave and burn oil to block the entrance. The company is contacted, and a rescue team promises to arrive in 2 hours. But the nightmare doesn't end there. The batteries in the protective suits run low. The stronger miners team up to steal the batteries from the weak and elderly miners so they can escape. Eli is severely beaten and left to die from radiation. Then another miner tries to escape in a truck. Accidentally, he is hit by a bullet from the back of the truck. The statue falls, extinguishing the fire at the cave entrance. At that very moment, monsters rush in again. One of them breaks the statue and grabs Lai and steps on him. Still, Lai refuses to give up and uses his last strength to bite the monster. At that very moment, the Shadow Monarch sealed in the statue enters his body. With that power, Lai easily crushes the monsters one by one. He also gives the coward miners their due, snatching their batteries and giving them to the survivors. Then, he exits. With overwhelming strength and agility, he forms the Shadow Blade and kills every remaining monster. But all this is nothing compared to what awaits him inside the insect nest. The next moment, he spots a shield carapace beetle. He's at a loss as to how he's able to identify the species. Shadow then reveals that he shared his knowledge base with him. Suddenly, the beetle charges at full speed. Lai barely dodges the blow. Seeing a blind spot on its back, he jumps into the air, but his attack is in vain. It's proven. Beetle charges again, and this time blocks with a Shadow Force blade. Yet, his shell is incredibly tough. Shadow mocks him, saying his attacks are limited to brute force. An angry Lai says he'll fight his way. Shadow warns him that if things get worse, he'll have to call for help. Even after a long clash, Lai doesn't find a weak spot. Beetle's next attack throws him off course. Then, he sees something green on his shoulder. Looking at Beetle, he realizes it's his blood. He smirks and awakens his Shadow Eye. The next moment, he breaks Beetle's leg. Shadow taunts him again. But Lai knows he's found an opening. He shapes his shadow into a spear and stabs Beetle in the abdomen. He wins, but Shadow explains that he's tired after killing just one armor guardian. Just then, a jewel appears in his hand. Shadow explains that it's an energy stone that can increase ability levels. He feels something, but sees nothing. Shadow tells him to use Shadow Eye. He explains that in the eyes, Shadow must gather energy. At level 1, he sees an enemy throwing needle-like weapons. The attacks are so fast that he can't track them. Shadow coldly remarks that he's still weak. Determined, he gathers more energy. Shadow is amazed at how efficiently he's channeling. Now he clearly sees a blink sword bug, also known as a head harvester, and a stinger shooter with it. But the real problem is that insects are never alone. The darkness thickens, and shapes begin to move around. Li avoids the attacks by taking the correct position. Then he uses Shadow Energy Burst. This is the second phase of Shadow Power. He receives a notification that Shadow Eye has reached level 2. Movements seem slower, and he can see purple weak points. With a roar, he activates Shadow Thorn Grand Busting. Countless Shadow Thorns emerge from the ground and pierce the insects. Multiple gems are obtained, and Dang's progress begins. Each core gives only 0.7%. Still, he decides to destroy them all. He is surprised by the change in power. From Womp to Worm, Shadow forms a whip and attacks. Then the entire swarm arrives, ripping apart everyone with multiple whips. Shadow recognizes that Li is now becoming capable of his power. Shadow Eye increases reaction, strength, and control. However, it consumes a tremendous amount of mental energy. Alik's vision begins to blur. Yet, he doesn't stop. Fueled by revenge, he continues to kill. Time slows, but progress increases. Standing among a pile of insect corpses, he vows to bring to his knees everyone who broke him for the honor of his parents. His D, the rank advancement progress, has now reached Deadly Person. But with only 2 minutes left, Shadow notices that Li's hatred towards humans is actually working to his advantage, as it is nourishing his shadow energy. Shadow urges him to hurry, reminding him that time is running out with only 7 seconds left. Li finally reaches 97% breakthrough progress. Shadow realizes what he is about to do. Utilize all his remaining shadow energy in one last desperate gamble to complete his advancement. Li, bolder than ever, risks everything. He releases shadow energy with violent surge, which explodes in all directions, spreading towards the surrounding insects. Just at that moment, the timer runs out. Devastating shadow burst crushes every insect, and Li finally achieves his breakthrough. His progress reaches a full 100%, and he finally reaches D rank. Shadow, both amazed and proud, gives him a mocking title. Little D is exhausted. Leia spots a weapon lying a short distance away. Shadow explains that this nest was used by his people as a beginner's training ground. Therefore, according to the human ranking system, this weapon should be a D-rank dagger. But Leia laughs at the size of the blade. It doesn't look like a dagger from any angle, but rather a massive greatsword. He says that the Shadow people must be very talented to call such a large object a dagger. Shadow reminds her that her shadow powers don't require a weapon, but rather a permanent sword. A stubborn Li Ji refuses to accept. With a smirk, he pulls out several daggers from Shadow, clearly demonstrating his dependence on both skills and weapons. Shadow becomes curious as to whether Li Ji will be able to use the weapon properly. Li explains that he is not going to use it, but to sell it. With this intention, the two head to the registration hall. During the evaluation, Li is shocked when he is told that he is still considered E rank. The receptionist explains that no energy fluctuations were detected in him, even though his physical stats be impressive. She adds, almost jokingly, that because of the minor profession, she'll only receive a 15% pay raise at rank E. On the way out, Shadow explains that this is because shadow energy can't be detected by human methods. Lei is left wondering. This gives him an advantage, but also makes it difficult to sell equipment legally. Ultimately, he decides to go to the black market. Shadow especially likes the word black, saying it suits her perfectly. Li's smell is so strong because of mining. His strength is such that people immediately recognize him as a miner. Seeing his weapon, Shadow mocks the stupidity of humans, saying that just because they have gems, they consider something divine. Just then, an agent shopkeeper laughs at Li and says that miner has no right to defile his weapons. Li calmly replies that such behavior toward a customer is unfair, but the man laughs even more arrogantly, convinced that someone like Li couldn't afford anything from his shop. Flashing away, he displays his weapon. He shows it and demands an appraiser. Then he turns to Do, an advanced D rank, while his girlfriend complains about bringing her to such a seedy place. The shopkeeper is delighted, hoping to find something good, He shows his sword, which he plans to sell to buy a car for his girlfriend. The shopkeeper inspects it and reveals it's the Wind House sword, which increases the user's attack power and is high-end even for a D rank. Meanwhile, Le's eyes fall on Su Wing, his ex, who had given him money. She had left because of the lack of money and the $1 million day. Joe asks if she knows him. She pretends that he must be a fan. Joe doesn't like anyone talking so casually to his girlfriend. He calls the place low class, activates the Wind Howl sword, and rushes at Lee. A slash is thrown, but Le's great sword crushes him to pieces. Le taunts that he was just handling garbage. His girlfriend complains that Joe said this sword could cut iron. An angry Joe rushes in to punch her, but Lee dodges easily. Joe continuously punches and kicks. But for Lee, these are slower than the monsters in the insect nest. Joe panics that he can't even land a hit on a miner. Lee creates a shadow whip and grabs his arms. While Du threatens to send him back to the mines, he taunts him with glowing eyes, telling him to return to the surface like a good dog. He throws Du to the ground. Just then, a bulky man enters the shop, Wang, the real owner. He respects Joe as a regular customer, but a fight breaks out in the shop. He refuses. His girlfriend blames Lee for the broken sod. Wang's attention is drawn to the sod and he realizes it broke due to sheer force. Wang pretends to be a mediator and asks to inspect the sod. As soon as he catches it, he is shocked. The sod weighs over 100 pounds, yet Lee handles it with ease. Wang asks how a miner got such a weapon. Lee reminds him that origins are not asked on the black market. Wang undervalues the sod and says that it lacks attributes. It's only worth 100 yuan. He tells Joe that the soda is worth 2 million and claims that Lei will have to pay that amount. Joe happily agrees. His girlfriend says that Lei will never be able to pay that much. Joe laughs and says that he can make ends meet even by selling his organs. Lei sees through their trick. The goons attack him. Wang sends Duo out, but the next moment, a goon hits the wall. Wang warns his men not to damage the merchandise. Everyone is shocked when Lei effortlessly knocks down every goon. Joe thinks that working in the mines has made Lei strong. Lei challenges him. Joe claims that he is a D rank and Lei has no chance. He rushes but is blown away by one of Lei's slaps. Furious, Joe launches a red surge attack, which Lei blocks with shadow. Joe panics. Lei creates a shadow morph spider web. Du trembles, realizing that Lei must be at least a C or B rank. But Lei casually says that he is just an E rank miner, which he cannot believe. When Lei is about to kill him, it's Walla who, in a panic, quickly blurts out that he's a member of the Black Panther gang and that if he's harmed, Brother Panther himself will come after him. Our boy thinks for a moment and asks if the gang is also involved in loan sharking, which he is forced to admit. In response, Lei punches him hard, sending him flying and coughing up blood. Lei declares that he hates all loan sharks. At that very moment, Wang attacks him from behind with a sword, but Lei only pushes him back with his sheer force, which he's completely terrified and decides to compromise. First, he offers 100,000 won, then 500,000, and finally, he stops at 1 million, only to give up. But Lei has a different idea. Joe loves to charge high interest, so Lei decides to offer him several interest slabs. Completely desperate, Joe takes out his credit card and offers 5 million, everything he has. Seeing the in-group VIP card, Lei immediately understands that Joe is one of those people like him. He extorts money from people, so he decides to let Joe live to lure a bigger fish. He lets Joe go, telling him that the Black Panther gang has already taken millions from him. Subing is distraught by Joe's condition, but more concerned about her own humiliation. He himself had said that Li Yi was just a miner. She questions how Li Yi became so powerful, and enraged Du vents his frustration on her, slapping her hard. In her mind, she has a deep connection with Li Yi. Revenge is determined, as no one can take his money away just like that. He calls his superior, Brother Panther, and twists the truth, revealing that Lee stole the soda he was supposed to give to Panther and vows to destroy the Black Panther gang. He then orders Joe to send all of Lee's information. Meanwhile, a subordinate asks what should be done with the people from whom the items were taken. Duo coldly kills them all, declaring that there are no people left. Ultimately, he decides to kill Lee, dead or alive. He hands over the responsibility of catching him to his second in command. Meanwhile, our boy arrives at the Advanced Ones Guild looking for work. As soon as he reveals that he's an E rank and is looking for a task, all the nearby adventurers start mocking him, as the guild doesn't usually hire E ranks. The receptionist politely tells him he'll have to wait by the trash pile at the entrance. If any party needs him, they can come and find him there. This leads to more laughter and taunts. He's compared to a trash pile. It's done. Lee ignores everything and focuses on the task, as most of the 5 million has already been spent on loans. Suddenly, a heavy pressure spreads throughout the guild hall. It's the aura of a B-rank advanced one. People begin whispering, wondering why such a high-level girl is here. Activating Shadow Eye, Lee sees something others can't. There's no killing intent, but rather, it seems to be the delicate air of a wealthy family. His companion announces that they're going on a D-rank task to Beast Abyss, and they're given a D-rank. Minor is needed. The pressure of the aura repels everyone except Lei, who remains completely unaffected. Even the girl notices that she wasn't impressed by her B-rank aura. The receptionist quickly starts showing a list of D-rank advanced ones. But the girl refuses and points directly at Lei. The receptionist panics. She says she didn't even register. This is against protocol. But the girl clearly states that she makes the rules and chooses Lei and walks out. Lei follows Chin inside the dungeon. He meets his team. It's balanced. A bard class lures monsters with fluid, and frontline fighters deal rapid damage. Chin leads as a confident B rank. From the outside, everything seems smooth, but Lei senses something's wrong. There are more hidden minotaurs, making this task more dangerous than a simple D rank. Shadow explains that this is due to his Shadow Eye. Lei understands that Chin, being a B rank, must know all this, but is deliberately hiding it. Chin's companion shows him the Starlight Crystal. Chin asks Lei to come with him. Seeing her envy, Lei thinks she doesn't care about the lives of her miners or teammates, but only believes in her own power. Both jump down and land in front of a D-rank Minotaur brute. Lei prepares to watch a B-rank fight, but is shocked when Chin steps back and asks him to fight. Taiji reminds him that he's just a miner. She then replies, and he clarifies that he's just an E-rank miner and doesn't want to risk his life for a miner's salary. Chin then offers 1 million. She promises to give it to him, and Lei agrees. Activating Shadow Aura, he forms a blade. Now he stands before several D-rank Minotaurs. One blocks the attack. The others charge towards Chin. Chin activates his own power and throws the monsters back. A Minotaur attacks Chin from above. Lei pushes it back with his great sword and mockingly asks if the monster doesn't like his face. Chin cries, saying that the beasts are his responsibility. Lei cuts down the Minotaurs with expert precision. Chin thinks he's safe, but then another one attacks from behind. The Minotaur attacks. Its blow hits the bracelet, revealing a red shield. However, the bracelet shatters. Lei realizes it was a protective charm and concludes that Chin is a non-combat type advanced one, which she agrees to. She begs him to keep her secret. Lei agrees on the condition of extra pay. Through his shadow eyes, he sees a figure playing the flute in the distance. He is the one controlling the Minotaurs. Lei sets up a shadow chess game using Chin as his bait. The enemy falls into the trap and attacks Chin from behind. But Lei manages to escape in time. But he saves him. He explains that the Minotaurs were being controlled by sending infrasound waves from the fluid. Chin sees in shock that it is Luden, his teammate. Luden laughs and says that he was tricked by a Minotaur. But it's not over yet. He activates his power. The air becomes heavy with his aura, drawing energy from all the Minotaurs around him. As he prepares to show his true strength, Lei, watching closely, realizes that Luden is probably going to be a C rank, while Qin immediately understands his strategy. He's absorbing minotaurs to increase his power. The next moment, lava erupts from beneath the ground, and Lei realizes that Luden is evolving into a C-rank lava minotaur. He's terrified at how inferior he is to Luden's cheat-like abilities. Moments later, a fully evolved C-rank lava minotaur appears before them and attacks relentlessly. Forced to do so, Lei creates a shadow shield around them. However, the monster's destructive force is so immense that the shield shatters instantly. He leaves. He realizes that even the two of them together can't face this monster. Qin sees the burn marks on his body, but he says nothing. Seeing no other way, he grabs her hand and starts running. To stop the Minotaur, he ties her with shadow ropes. However, he knows they won't last long. After reaching some distance, he tells Qin to get as far away from the dungeon as possible. Worry is visible in her eyes. Butler says she must stay here and buy time. She hesitates, but he assures her that he'll be back. After all, she still needs to get her 1 million. Finally, she heads towards the entrance. Just then, Luden, transformed into a minotaur, begins searching for them and calls Qin's name. Enraged, he turns to La. La dodges his attack and continues to provoke him. He strikes Luden's shin, but is shocked when there's not even a scratch. His body is solid as stone. Luden laughs and says that the blade can't cut him because he's now truly stone. Lee's mind works quickly. Defeating such an enemy surrounded by lava, it's nearly impossible. He immediately runs. He tries to lure Luden to open ground. Luden taunts him into fleeing, but Lei remains focused on finding the weak spot. Activating his C-rank shadow eye, he carefully scans Luden. Luden attacks him with full force. This recklessness gives Lei an opening, and he finally locates the weak spot, intending to kill him before Qin can go after him. He jumps back, but Luden also turns out to be sharp, and streams of lava cover the area. With a cruel laugh, Luden declares that he can read Lei's every thought and blasts him with molten force. The exhausted Lei feels the crushing power of a true high rank. Luden rushes to finish him off. Lei holds his blade, waiting for the right moment. Luden mocks him, asking why he isn't fleeing like before. The fight seems hopeless. Yet, Lei attacks relentlessly, though each slash seems useless against his stone-like body. Suddenly, in a moment of urgency, a narrow opportunity arises. Lei leaps into the air and strikes directly at the weak spot. He does, but a wave of 2,000-degree lava heat erupts from there. His shadow energy falters, and he falls back. As he falls to the ground, he acknowledges how sharp his opponent is. Luden admits that Lei has found the weakness, but taunts that he will never reach the bottom of the inferno. In a cruel tone, he again asks for Qin's location. Lei coldly states that he will never trust a man who betrayed his master for money and fame. Hearing this, Luden becomes enraged and attacks in a fury. Lei dodges every attack with instinct. Seeing an opportunity, he morphs his shadow into a chain blade and throws it at Luden. The enemy immediately understands. Now Lei isn't just defending, he's attacking. Transforming the chain into a rope dart, he throws it at a weak spot. But the searing heat melts his shadow in midair. Luden mocks him and begs him to give up. Luden is also aghast. His shadow energy is rapidly depleting. For a moment, he considers summoning Entropic, but immediately refuses. He'd prefer to die on his own terms. Gathering all his willpower, he leaps forward, unable to give his body to the entity. The heat crushes him. The lava flames burn his skin. Yet, he doesn't stop. The promise of victory and the experience points he receives propel him forward. And then he pierces. The Shadow Force spear plunges into Luden's weak spot. The C-rank roars in pain. As his health drops to 0, Berserker mode activates. His body fills with violent energy, his stats increasing even further. Lee blasts Lee away with monstrous force. Lee falls to the ground, stunned and confused. Luden's blazing eyes fix on him. angrily cursing him. Just then, Lee feels an even greater energy rising from his own body. Entropic response. This energy has always been within him, but now, due to the high heat, it has been tempered and transformed into a new shadow energy. He realizes that he has awakened a shadow enhancement ability, which grants healing, even if it's still at a beginner level. Luden also notices Lee being healed, and everything around him is healing. Its sister aura. He attacks without a second thought. Lei dodges at high speed. Luden is shocked. He can even move at 3 times his speed. In a rage, he floods the entire area with lava, but Lei stands unfazed. He doesn't know that the shadow enhancement has created a protective layer around him. Lei is satisfied, thinking about how miraculous the advanced version will be. With calm defiance, he teases Luden that his heat is too low. Lei raises his blade in front of the shocked Luden and says, "Now it's my turn." The two clash, but this time Lei has the upper hand. Shadow enhancement increases his stats by 200%. His blade can now cut through the enemy's rock body. Luden cuts his arm. He charges again in fury, but Lei is ready with blades in both hands. He can also deliver ranged slashes. Due to the lava, Luden regenerates his limbs and claims infinite regeneration. Lei calmly states that his energy is depleting. Luden challenges him. Lei repeatedly cuts his limbs. Eventually, the regeneration begins to falter. Lei asks him to surrender. Facing death, Luden pleads that there's no personal enmity between them. Lei agrees, but says he was tasked with protecting Qin for 1 million. Luden offers 5 million. Lei ostensibly agrees, but tells him he will be handed over to Qin's father, Qin Shaosheng. Hearing this, Luden realizes that captivity will endanger his family, and he chooses death over captivity. He declares that he has been brought to face what lies ahead. He refuses to accept the accusation and picks up a shard in his hand. Entropic immediately recognizes the shard. It's connected to a gate to another world. Lei immediately tells Elixir that if Luden breaks it, the abyss will be permanently cut off from the outside world, trapping everyone inside. Luden accuses Lei of forcing him to do so. Quickly, Lei snatches the shard from his hand and, in a fit of rage, fatally attacks him. Luden falls to the ground, leaving behind an energy core. With this core, Lee upgrades her Shadow Eye, which becomes the ultimate Shadow Eye. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble. Entropic explains that without the Minotaur's energy, the abyss is collapsing. Everyone flees to safety and breathes a sigh of relief. Once outside, Jin offers to join her father's faction, assuring her that her skills will be valued. Lee flatly refuses, stating that she has no interest in joining any faction. She asks him to keep her power a secret. He requests to keep it. She agrees and offers him a reward of 1 million. Looking to make more money, Li offers to sell his sword on Longman 3rd Street. She inspects it and reveals that it doesn't have any special energy attributes, but the material is of extremely high quality. She agrees to take the sword for appraisal and promises to get him a fair price. Li happily hands over the sword and says goodbye, vowing to continue selling his items to her because she has a good understanding of weapons. He still harbors a slight doubt that he might turn out to be like Dao. For now, he's content with the 1 million he's earned. Later at home, he takes out the shard he stole from Luden and asks Entropic if it's really that important. Entropic assures him that if he collects enough shards, he can reach S rank. Looking at the shard, Lei considers the offer. Unbeknownst to him, Entropic is already considering the return of the gate to the other world, which means their enemies are still active. Entropic knows it's Li because one day they'll have to fight creatures the human mind can't even comprehend. He considers revealing it now, but then gives up. Right now, Li's growing stronger is more important. Our boy then heads to the E-rank rift zone, which falls under the NG group. This rift is sealed due to a mining accident. He sees 1 B rank and 3 C rank guards standing at the gate. He can't believe in G would be so high leveled just to guard an E rank rift. He will be guarded. With his current strength, He knows it's beyond his capacity to fight these guards. Entropic also becomes curious as to why there's such heavy security around the low-level rift. Eli explains that this place is hiding the truth about his parents' death. He remembers when he went to the NG group to get answers. Instead of telling the truth, they offered him more money. He didn't even touch the money because he wanted the truth. The manager even tried to capture him, saying that his parents died in a field accident. But Lei reminded him that his parents were C-rank evolvers. They couldn't have died in a simple accident. He insisted that he be allowed inside, fearing they might still be alive. The in-group said the rift zone was unpredictable, dangerous even for C-ranks. Lei protested again, saying that even monsters, if they existed, couldn't be stronger than E-ranks. Just then, a goon was about to kill him, accusing him of simply wanting more money. Just then, Ning Dong-hu, the chairman of the in-group, arrived and stops the violence. The chairman offers Lei 20,000 in compensation, saying it will help him. But Lei refuses the money. He only wants the truth. The chairman promises to investigate the matter, and Lei trusts him. Little does he know that he will soon be forced into labor on Parents' Day. Entropic remarks that this is the case everywhere. Without strength, every creature must submit. He tells Lei to focus on collecting the shards. Don't waste time. If you are strong, the truth will come out. Many thoughts swirl through Lei's mind. His E-rank status, his inability to form a party, and his doubts about Entropic's intentions. Shadow promises to make him S-rank, but Lei doesn't fully trust him. Entropic angrily tells him to shut up. He explains that he sees his potential, which is why he's training him. Lei casually says he didn't say anything. He didn't know Entropic could read his thoughts. Irritated, he calls him Menace. Just then, a mission invite appears before him. He arrives. After reviewing the invitation, he heads to the chemical sector, a D-rank rift zone. The manager complains about his late arrival, and Lei makes the excuse that he was away. Then, he spots a familiar face, Uncle Howell, who recognizes him and is delighted to see him after 5 years. The other C-rank evolved fighters are annoyed at having to wait for the miner. The manager explains that the mission is for mining, as they don't want to advance once. The client has tasked them with going inside the rift, killing 6 starters, and extracting the cold crystal. Lei immediately realizes that having 3 C-rank fighters for a D-rank rift is dangerous. Furthermore, none of them seem friendly. He senses another C-rank presence near the gate, perhaps mercenary Haze. Meanwhile, Blood Panther is looking at his phone. With bloodlust in his eyes, he plans to hunt everyone, including Lei. After a while, they enter the rift. Uncle Hao asks about his protective suit, and Lei says he doesn't need it because he's an advanced one. Hearing this, an evolved fighter taunts him. He calls him the king of trash. Uncle Hao advises him not to get involved, and Lei assures him he won't do anything. As they enter, Lei senses something strange. Vegeta seems to have been deliberately arranged by humans. He also senses a significant threat nearby, including the strong energy of the Blood Panther, which he can no longer resist. He sees that the mercenary has likely sensed it as well. The agent fighters tell him to move faster, and he complies. Lei tells Uncle Hao to hold him tight, and he moves forward with incredible speed, surprising the fighters. One tries to stop him, but another stops him, warning him that he will be in danger alone. Meanwhile, the Blood Panther is watching the evolved fighters, thinking how easy it is to manipulate them. One fighter feels threatened, but the leader warns him that the mission is only D-rank. Suddenly, the Blood Panther appears behind one of the fighters and traps him. Shocked, they retreat and beg to be let out. But the Panther cold-bloodedly kills him. Enraged, the other brother rushes at him, but the Blood Panther's threads kill him as well. He tells the surviving brother to run. After keeping his distance, enjoying his frightened expression, Lei tells Uncle Hao to get some rest. Uncle Hao is surprised that he abandoned the brothers. Instead of answering, Lei asks if he has offended any factions recently. Uncle Hao says he is just a miner. Lei explains that this mission has been orchestrated to kill everyone. Uncle Hao is terrified. The surviving brother shouts that Lei knew everything but didn't say anything. Lei stands up and taunts that revealing the mastermind will only make him useful. The fighter doesn't understand. Lei points to his neck, indicating that he's about to die. Blood Panther looks at him and smiles, having already predicted his moves. Without wasting any time, Lei activates his ultimate, Shadow Eye. Faced with death, Uncle Hao immediately begs for their lives, saying they're just minors. Blood Panther agrees. He claims he's never had any conflict with them. But a few days ago, while drunk, Uncle Hao spilled a secret. Uncle Hao swears he'll never reveal it. Activating his power, Blood Panther declares that only a dead man can keep a secret, and then Uncle, our boy, stands ready. Holding blades in both hands, his power surges. Blood Panther spreads his threads wide and admits he never imagined someone like Lee would have the power to take down a man like Joe. He moves to claw him. Recognizing that Lee possesses the only skill capable of defeating Zuo, Blood Panther charges. But Lee has already activated Shadow Enhancement. He dodges easily, as Blood Panther is too powerful to block directly. Blood Panther attacks again and blows Lei away. Lee, compelled, tells Uncle Hao to stay behind. He realizes he is at a disadvantage in close-range combat. Blood Panther declares that they will both die, to which Lee immediately responds. He disagrees. He activates his ultimate shadow and morphs the weapon into daggers. The daggers fly toward Blood Panther, which he blocks with a taunt. Lee Kek leaps into the air. Blood Panther grudgingly admits that Lee's abilities are too high for a minor, but says that even with the sword broken, he's only rank E. The next moment, the ground cracks beneath Blood Panther's feet, and a mercenary attacks him. Lee's snake-like, flexible shadow grips Blood Panther. He realizes that his mastery of close combat will be his downfall. He is killed in an instant. Seeing a C-ranked warrior die, Lei is worried, as he himself is weaker than him. Seeing no way out, he takes Uncle Hao's hand and focuses on getting away. Blood Panther refuses to believe they can escape. A short distance away, Lei treats Uncle Hao's wounds and plans an escape at night. Uncle Hao tells him to escape alone, believing he is now a burden. He then asks why Blood Panther wants to kill him. Surely because of some secret. Uncle Hao quietly admits that he knows the truth about his parents' death, which inadvertently triggers Lee's shadow energy. Desperate to know the truth, Lei insists. Uncle Hao explains that he wasn't sure at first, but the pursuit of the Blood Panther proves something is wrong with Kyushi. Before his death, his father had told him that this man was conducting dangerous experiments in the mining area. A few days later, an accident occurred. His parents were killed, and Kyushi Hao accused him of further theft. Lei, he is furious that he wasn't told earlier. Uncle Hao admits that he couldn't risk losing his job because he had a family to care for. Lei blames him for letting the truth slip. Uncle Hao confesses that, under the pressure of guilt, he drank and blurted out the truth, leading to this disaster. The next moment, the Blood Panther reappears. He ties Uncle Hao with the deadly threads. Before dying, Uncle Hao apologizes to Lei. The Blood Panther recognizes Lei from his parents and says that he will find him too after. A fierce clash ensues between the two. Blood Panther is eager to shed blood, but Lei reminds him that his spider silk is invincible. He draws his great sword from Shadow Morph and waits for the right moment. When Blood Panther recklessly attacks, Lei severs the threads, stunning him. Blood Panther realizes his mistake. Exhausted, Lei wonders if he's reached his limit. Blood Panther admits that for a moment he was truly scared. Without his E-rank abilities, he would have lost. He then ensnares Lei in spider silk and challenges him to kill him. Seeing Lee's glare, he mocks whether he can kill with his eyes. The determination in Lee's eyes further enrages Blood Panther. He darkly reveals that Huo was right about the experiments. But his parents didn't die in the accident. He was the one who killed them. Lee's face falls. Blood Panther laughs and adds that Lee's father had the same expression when he tore his mother to pieces. psychotic laughter. With that, Lei erupts in rage. His power explodes. In an instant, the spider silk around him shimmers to ashes. He rises, merging with his shadow, determined to kill Blood Panther. Entropic observes the situation and realizes his prediction was correct. Lei can convert hatred into shadow energy. The system immediately notifies that a massive shadow surge has been detected and a level correction begins. The adjustment is successful, and Lei reaches C rank with Shadow Enhancement. A new skill awakens with it, Shadow John, which allows him to enter any shadow and exit through any other connected shadow. Blood Panther sees that Leah's injuries have completely disappeared and wonders if she has healing abilities. Blood Panther says with satisfaction that prey is most fun when she is on the verge of death and releases energy on her. Ellie responds by asking who is the real prey among the shadows, and Shadow John appears behind Blood Panther. This sudden movement shocks him. He cannot understand how Ellie's power could be so quickly increased. Blood Panther praises his speed, but says it's not enough to kill him. From above, Lei activates Shadow Morph Flying Dagger Swarm and attacks downward, challenging him. Blood Panther confidently states that such attacks are easy for him to dodge. Lei then activates Shadow Gelt Lightning Thunderstorm, teleporting through Shadow and striking thrown weapon. He asks if Blood Panther can handle it. Blood Panther then dismisses, saying that these weak daggers can't penetrate his defenses. He retreats and clarifies that breaking the defense was not his intention. He explains that he cannot maintain offense and defense simultaneously because his reaction speed is not matched by the speed at which he can control the blood threads. This is his fatal weakness. Blood Panther screams in disbelief as Lei attacks with lightning speed from multiple directions. He falls to his knees, bleeding profusely, unable to understand how he was defeated by such a young boy. Lei stands before him and demands the truth about the mining accident. The dagger is his. Holding him over his head, Blood Panther begins to tell him about his mother. But Lei's patience breaks. With a swift slash, he cuts off his hand. He warns that even his patience has its limits. Blood Panther reveals that everything was Kwai Sahao's plan. Lei's father had witnessed his secret experiments. Fearing exposure, Kwai had both parents killed and staged a cover-up of a mining accident. This truth opens Lei's eyes. Blood Panther adds that now that he knows of In-Group's involvement, does this scare him or break his resolve and advise him to leave? Lei leaves without answering, swearing that none of his parents' killers will survive. Later, at the NG Group headquarters, Lei secretly watches Kishi as a subordinate escorts him to his car. Entropic warns him that even after becoming a C rank, he should not invite death unnecessarily and reminds him that he can sense the presence of an A-rank advanced fighter nearby. He assumes it is Ningdong-hu. He's the chairman of the In-Group and an A-rank advanced fighter who's traveling in the same car. He assures his shadow that he's not so reckless as to attack Kwai immediately. Lei observes the scene from above and explains that he can't completely trust Blood Panther's words without investigating. He must determine whether the matter regarding his parents was Kwai's personal decision or whether the entire In-Group is involved in this conspiracy. Our boy hopes Ning doesn't get involved, given his A-rank status. No matter what, Blood Day is always paid with blood. The system displays his current status. C-rank abilities Shadow Knowledge Base Shadow Morph Unlimited Shadow Eyes Shadow Enhancement Tier 2 and Shadow John. He follows the car, keeping himself hidden until it finally stops. He sees that they have arrived at the Black Panther gang's warehouse. He wonders why Kwai is there at midnight. Inside the warehouse, Black Panther orders his subordinates to be careful as all the items are experimental equipment. Workers move equipment around. Kay inquires about the status of this old miner, Ha. His associate reports that the Blood Panther is missing, and the otherworldly gate used for infiltration is also missing. Therefore, it is impossible to determine whether he is alive or dead. Kwai asks for an explanation of this confusion, stating that the Blood Panther was a C-rank fighter. The subordinate says that the Blood Panther may have underestimated its enemy, as 4 C-rank advanced fighters were killed in the incident. Gone. Kwai orders the equipment to be moved immediately, as the experiment is at a critical stage and any mistakes will not be tolerated. Black Panther asks about the money and receives confirmation that everything is ready. Our boy hides behind a box. Overhearing the entire conversation, he angrily thinks that Kwai Shishu really planned everything. His ray is about to explode when suddenly, Black Panther senses something strange and asks if anyone is hiding. Li immediately shifts his position, as behind him, the box catches fire. Black Panther is puzzled by what happened. He thinks it was just his imagination, but he had clearly sensed killing intent moments earlier. Lei hides behind a pile of other boxes, realizing how close he was to being captured and that his C-rank strength is still insufficient. Meanwhile, at the Qin Group Enterprise, owned by China Shaoshang and the president of Longman 3rd Street, Li stands outside the building. Shadow asks why he came here so early in the morning instead of looking for missions. Li explains that he needs to find the third fragment and determine the weapon's true value. The receptionist politely offers to help. Li says he wants to meet Chini. She asks if there's an appointment. A couple passes by. The girl looks at Li with disdain, saying that a poor miner like him doesn't deserve to come here casually, and taunts him for taking the name of the eldest young miss so casually. Li recognizes her. Sachin, his companion, also taunts him for stinking and asks why he should throw her out. She's not thrown away. Her arrogance irritates Li. He asks if this is what 3rd Street hospitality is all about. The girl retorts that hospitality is for guests, not for the poor, and adds that he's not even worthy of being their family dog. Li Patti wonders if everyone in the Qin family is such a rascal and decides there's no point in contacting the Chinese. He offers to leave, but she blocks his way. The man orders the guards, and they attack Li. Li's Shadow John activates. He easily knocks down the guards. He then grabs Qin by the throat and lifts him up. The girl is frightened and threatens to release the young master or face the wrath of the Qin family. Li throws Qin at her and says that he is releasing them today out of respect for Qinian. Qin, enraged, releases fire energy and rushes to attack Lei from behind, vowing to kill him. Li is about to counter when a man interrupts and orders them to stop. Qinian appears from behind him. She says that she has the audacity to cause a ruckus in the Qin group. The young master shouts that Li is finished and that her cousin will not let her go. The girl orders the guards to throw him out. He says that this punishment is too light and that his limbs should be broken. Just then, a subordinate grabs her from behind. Shocked, he asks why she is attacking her own family. His girlfriend explains that Li only called her name and the young master picked an unnecessary fight. She clarifies that Li is her friend and there is nothing wrong in calling her name. No. Then she orders that the agent guards and his girlfriend be fired and never rehired. The girl, in drag, cries and pleads, introducing herself as the young master's girlfriend. Qinian warns her cousin that she won't forgive him if he misuses the family name again. He bows his head and agrees. Then she turns to our boy, surprised to see him there, and invites him in. She apologizes for the trouble the side branch caused. Eli shrugs. Carr says every family has people like that. A servant comes in and tells him that President Qin wants to meet him. She apologizes and asks 52 to wait. 52 agrees. Just then, a small explosion occurs and a man appears. He asks who 52 is. 52 checks with the ultimate shadow eye and sees that he is an A-rank fighter. The skills, Eye of Deterrence, instill fear and restrict movement, and Furious Thunder, lightning power, and enhanced stings. 52 understands that this opponent is dangerous. He respectfully says there's probably a misunderstanding since he's only a minor, but the mental attack is disgusting to him, and even shadow enhancement is ineffective against it. The man is shocked, so the Eye of Deterrence doesn't scare Li. In doubt, he directly uses Power Burst. The blow lands, but Li doesn't even flinch. The man looks on in disbelief. Only a B rank can withstand this much. He demands Li confess his true motive. At that moment, Chine arrives, grabs the man's ear, and drags him away, scolding him. Qin Shushang says in a soft voice. She tells him to respect his father in front of guests. She retorts that a man without dignity deserves no respect and orders him not to bother her friend. Lei realizes this is Qin Shaoshang. He apologizes to Lei, admitting he's suspicious of those who approach his daughter. Lei calmly says it's natural for a father to do so. She invites him inside. Qin Shaoshang watches them from the window outside. Convinced that the boy is interested in his daughter, he vows not to let anyone take her. His words are broken. They leave, which irritates Sini and asks him to leave. Later, he sits across from Shun. She gives him a 5 million yuan card and explains that the great sword's material is special, so the final price will be determined after an appraisal. Lai says that's fine, but adds that he actually came for something else. He shows her a fragment and asks if she knows where to find more like it. She examines it carefully and explains that these strange fragments from another dimension were quite common before. Someone's been buying them frequently over the past few years, making them rare. She suggests he check out the auctions on Longman 3rd Street. He might find one there. Our boy thanks her, and Entropic whispers to him that perhaps it's related to the people they've encountered before. Someone is collecting these fragments. Elsewhere, a subordinate reports to his superior about La, who says that this 20-year-old miner was only classified as an E-rank ascendant until a few days ago. No special energy could be detected in his body. Therefore, he was always considered ordinary. Hearing this, President Qin wonders if it's surprising that he could rise from E-rank to C-rank in such a short time. Either he's been hiding his strength all along, or something unusual has happened recently. Before he can think further, his phone rings. He picks up the call and recognizes the voice of an old acquaintance. The caller, Hua, wastes no time in asking if any of the great swords his daughter sent him earlier are still there. The president explains. He's unsure and asks why there's such a rush. He insists he check immediately and take as much as he can. The president laughs and says that such an old fox's sudden interest suggests a deeper reason. He doesn't provide details, simply stating that the sword's material could increase the overall strength of their army. This idea resonates with the president. Lai's power is mysterious. His background is unclear, and the weapons he creates are extraordinary. Understanding him isn't easy. Elsewhere, our boy is lost in thought. Surrounded by objects and materials, he suspects they might contain hidden fragments. Then, that same irritating couple catches his attention. His greedy ex, who used to work at Qintang, is clinging to him again. She explains that she no longer has anything to do with Qintang. She even quit her job at Qin Corporation to distance herself from him. He pulls her closer and declares that he will take care of her from now on. She melts into his embrace, praising him. He's so nice. Joe smiles proudly. But irritation flares as he catches sight of our miner. He wonders if the Blood Panther hasn't taken action yet, and Joe steps forward to ask how a lowly miner managed to sneak in. He recalls their previous encounter, when he effortlessly slapped him, releasing a wave of pressure that warns him to stay away. The atmosphere becomes tense. Just then, Brother Bao arrives. He mocks Joe, saying he's an embarrassment to the Black Panther gang. Then, he turns to us. He declares that slapping his subordinate is an insult to the entire gang. Placing a heavy hand on his shoulder, Bao orders him to kneel and apologize. His strength causes the ground to crack. He doesn't flinch, retorting that kneeling would only be in Bao's dreams. A shocked Bao admits he didn't expect such toughness from him, hissing angrily and calling him a worthless miner who doesn't know his place. Just then, Sen arrives with her subordinate. She steps forward and reminds the gang that this dragon, the gates are on 3rd Street. If they've come to spend money, they're welcome. But if they've come to cause a ruckus, she won't tolerate it. Her words make Bao think. He retreats. He decides to drop the matter for now and orders his men to head to the auction. When everything calms down, Siu asks him if he's okay, and he assures him that everything is fine. As he leaves, Bao mutters that his background is incomprehensible and wonders how he ended up in her circle, still filled with bitterness. He explains that this is the same miner who stole the treasured sword that was meant for him and boasted about taking down the Black Panther gang. Bao grabs him by the collar and asks if it's true. Shoes and Decker say yes. Just then, Kwai arrives and asks what happened. Bao explains that this same boy was the Blood Panther's target last time, yet is somehow alive. He points directly at Lai, suspecting that he might be the one who killed the Blood Leopard, who immediately dismisses it. He says that an E-rank weak miner is his second in command. How can he defeat him? Meanwhile, our boy looks at Kwai carefully, and Kwai looks at him too. He thinks this face resembles the weak boy he used to know and wonders how such a weakling got involved with Tai. Lai asks her why she's here. She explains that her father suddenly called her. She assures him that nothing will happen as long as she's here. Kwai notices them and admits he didn't expect to run into her here. He deflects, saying he's just a miner who's paying off a debt. He's forced to work in the mines to pay. Therefore, he can't have anything to do with high-level people like the in-group. She confesses that the decision regarding the parents' matter came from above. He wanted to help, but he had no power. His words were of no value. Our boy listens to him. Realizing he's trying to wash his hands of responsibility, he tells him he learned the truth from Uncle Hao. But Du interrupts and says he needs to be taught a lesson. But Chi interrupts, explaining that the area belongs to China Shuang and a public confrontation would be foolish. Still, the matter is clear. He has crossed a line and someone must be handled quietly. Bao, with a dangerous smile, promises to make immediate arrangements. Meanwhile, she takes him to meet her father before the auction begins. The evening announcement echoes through the hall, and she tells him she will observe the auction and signal if she sees something he wants. He thanks her and, keeping an eye on the crowd, moves on. Inside, the president mentions the weapon that he asked if there were more. He offered a large sum to buy everything. Our boy thinks the president is particularly interested in that entropic clan weapon. That's why there's so much excitement. He decides to hold back, as displaying too many rare pieces could attract dangerous attention and cause the price to plummet. He calmly explains that he found one by chance and has 2 more in stock. Bidding begins. Auctioneer item numbers and starting prices announced. He does. The hall buzzes with offers. Our boy's heart leaps with joy when a fragment appears on the platform. Proof that these strange otherworld pieces are truly here. He checks his funds. Around 70 million, and he intends to rely on that to win. The initial bids rise slowly. Then a rival raises the price sharply. He offers 30 million, just to test the waters. But another buyer immediately matches it. Gang leaders whisper and signal, sensing trouble for the challenger. One leader bids even higher. The hall falls silent. Eli tries to scare everyone with a bid of 60 million. Shang theorizes that the price is getting out of hand and someone is deliberately inflating the price to crush his rivals. Our boy is irritated by this ploy and wonders which of the 2 major camps, the Qin group and the Ying group, has deeper pockets. President Qingxia reminds him that it's his establishment, but questions why he should help. Meanwhile, buyer number 2 bids 70 million and Kwai watches all this from a distance. Lei points a finger at his weapons, causing them to materialize. Qin Shueseng agrees to buy both items at the previous price, but warns that the meager funds Li has will not be enough to complete the transaction. The president is assured that he will produce the required quantity as Li has claimed. This leads Qin to wonder if the young man might have more weapons than he has shown. When 70 million, the bidding is about to end. Chen grabs Liai's hand and pulls her forward, urging her to hurry up before the bad guy snatches the item. 52 thinks to himself that he really doesn't understand the world of the super rich, where 100 million is just pocket change. He raises his bid and calls out 100 million. Buyer number 9 has now bid 100 million. Then suddenly, Kwai counters with 200 million. Thinking that the fragment is crucial to their group's secret project, and could be stolen from anyone. It has to be acquired at a price. The bids rise rapidly. 300 million, 400 million, 500 million. The audience erupts. People begin to wonder if these two bidders have lost their minds. Some question whether the fragment is really worth that much. One girl suggests that perhaps these two big spenders are just competing with each other, and it has nothing to do with the fragment's true value. Bao tells Kuai that their boy is clearly working against them. But Kuai dismisses this concern, saying he has no abilities to be a real threat. He then makes a shocking bid of 1 billion. Everyone at the auction house is stunned. Xian says that Qi is deliberately provoking them. Lai understands that something is wrong with Qi's nature. He would never waste such a large sum of money on impulse unless something very important was at stake. Qin Shushang comes from behind and warns Lei to proceed cautiously. The bid has now reached 1 billion, and he must consider whether he can truly afford so many weapons he can produce. Xian reminds her father that she already promised to cover any shortfalls and begs him not to play spoilsport. She then urges Lai to bid quickly so that the villain doesn't win. She bids 2 billion. The entire hall is plunged into shock. The host announces that buyer number 9 has bid 2 billion. Bao curses. Kuai realizes, wondering where this guy got so much money, that it must be Chao Shuang's influence. Otherwise, how can Li have 2 billion? The host calls for the third and final time. The bidding is declared over and buyer number 9 congratulates her on winning the unknown fragment. Chen congratulates Lei. Lei wonders if she needs to be so excited. She replies that she loves watching bad guys get humiliated. Shin comments that the budding war was quite entertaining. But even after subtracting the previous amount, Li still has to pay for over 70 weapons. He asks if Li can really make that many items. He explains that things are precious only when they are rare, but when they become abundant, their value cannot be measured by the old standards. He snaps his fingers, and hundreds of weapons materialize around them. He explains that more than 100 weapons would easily cover the cost of 2 billion. China Shishang recognizes that Lei is a straightforward young man and thinks he has both an excellent temperament and strength. He considers how beneficial it would be to have this man work for him. Sean tells Lei that, next time something this interesting happens, be sure to call him. Qin Shanshan thinks it's best if Lei stays away from his daughter. If he remains undeterred and takes away his precious daughter, it will be a big problem. He asks Qin to drive him home and tells Lei that he can go and pick up the items he bought directly. Li thanks the president for his help. Before leaving, Qin Shanshan gives him some advice. Even though Lei has methods others are unaware of, don't underestimate the in-group. It's not a force he can handle alone. Sometimes, it becomes necessary to form alliances with partners with similar goals. If Liai is interested in such cooperation, he can contact him later. At that moment, Bao receives a phone call. Understanding the situation, he informs Kuai that the president and his daughter are gone, and that the one collecting the fragments will be their son. He begins to suggest a plan, but Kuai interrupts him, saying they will move after they are out of the influence of Longman 3rd Street. They cannot afford any more mistakes. This assures them that once he brings 3 more C-rank experts, the operation won't fail. Returning home, Li Ji realizes something crucial. Jin Xiaowang is clearly gathering information about him. The last comment in their conversation was clearly an attempt to lure him into the alliance. He has no objection to working together because he won't be bound by any formal agreement. Entropic, floating next to him, reveals that the president is currently at A rank. He explains that reaching S rank with enough fragments is quite achievable. The alien looks at him skeptically. He gives Entropic a look that puts him on the defensive. Lai replies that he agrees, but they need to find a good place for the trial. Deep inside, he thinks differently. S-rank hunters are extremely rare, only 9 in the entire world. Reaching them requires extraordinary hard work and talent. He keeps this thought to himself so as not to irritate Entropic. At that very moment, a loud crackling sound catches his attention. Turning around, He sees his apartment building engulfed in flames. People are running out screaming. His phone immediately rings. The caller calls him. Black Panther reports a tip about a gang attack. Alibi looks at the burning building and says the attack has already begun. The leader advises them to hide until backup arrives. But Lei confidently refuses. Joe appears with several gang members and demands Lei kneel down and beg for mercy. He threatens to spare his worthless life if he does so. Instead of being intimidated, Lei releases his powerful aura, causing the surrounding air to tremble. Mocks Joe for being so small. He has brought it. The Sheik boasts that he has 3 real C rank fighters and dismisses Lee as just an E rank minor. Lee smiles and asks why the Blood Panther failed to kill him if he is so weak. A subordinate suspects that Lee is hiding his true strength, but Joe ignores him, convinced that Lee is just an ordinary miner with no combat experience. Confident in this belief, a gang member recklessly charges. He swings his weapon, expecting an easy victory. But just before the blow lands, Lee loses his place. The weapon falls to the ground, leaving everyone stunned. Lur appears behind the confused attacker and attacks him with his sword. He casually admits to Joe, saying, yes, he's a miner, but his actions suggest otherwise. The gang members freeze in shock, unable to understand when or how Lur moved. Fear fills Joe's voice, and he orders the others to attack simultaneously. The alien cuts down both attackers in an instant and grabs Joe by the throat. He asks if a tough gangster like Joe can be a real gangster. Why is he so afraid of a simple miner? Joe writhes and begs to be let off, because Joe likes to play with fire. Lur decides to give him what he wants. He throws the gang leader into a burning apartment building. Joe, falling into the flames, threatens revenge on Kwai and Brother Panther. The fire spreads to his clothes, and he screams in pain. Lei calmly promises that he will return them to Joe soon. Chan runs up and asks if he's hurt. Lei brushes him off, saying, it's like. Dealing with Lackey wasn't difficult. She asks about his next plan. Lei clearly states that they've already launched the first attack, so he'll strike back. Chan offers his help. When asked why, she explains that she's already irritated with the Black Panther gang. Attacking her friend crossed a line, especially since Lei is one of her few close friends. Her cheeks turn slightly red as she says this. Lei accepts her friendship and partnership. They decide to target the Black Panther gang first. Then they'll move on to the bigger threats. Cian leads him to a house and tells him it's mostly empty. He can choose any room he wants. As he goes, he immediately points to a room, but she quickly stops him from entering. Inside, the room is filled with feminine accessories and decorations. There's a lot of clutter everywhere. He comments that everything looks very girly. However, he also admits that the place feels strangely calm. She says that a person like him might like such things. It's weird to do that, especially being the head of Chin Corporation. He replies that it's perfectly normal for any girl to experience such things. Her next statement surprises him. He says that she's much more attractive when she sheds her usual cold and distant attitude. The word cute resonates in his mind because no one has ever called her that before. She then tries to approach him from behind, but he casually grabs her hand and laughs when she tells him she's hungry. Using his ability, he conjures various ingredients from thin air and says these emergency supplies will suffice for now. Her curiosity grows. She remembers that he had brought out a similar weapon at an auction. She asks where all these things came from. He simply says that he knows magic. Hearing this, she enthusiastically asks him for lessons. He advises her to return home first. She, perplexed, asks what's wrong with that. At that moment, her father, angrily standing outside the house, confronts them. He's watching. He wonders what spell this boy has cast on his precious daughter that their relationship has progressed so quickly. It troubles him that his daughter is now staying in a place where even he himself cannot enter. He remembers that he hasn't spoken to her so happily in recent times. The mere sight of a boy and a girl alone at night creates a deeply uneasy atmosphere in his mind. Our boy senses his father's growing anger and warns her that if she doesn't return home soon, she will be punished. His father could really harm him. Later that evening, back home, he explains that this place falls within the territory of Dragon Gate 3rd Street, so they are protected from unwanted visitors. He takes out 3 fragments, one from the Lava Minotaur, another from the Blood Panther, and a third from auction. Before moving on to something important, he expresses his curiosity about the connection between these fragments and the dimensional portals that suddenly appear. Entropic explains that these 3 fragments are actually small pieces of the alternate prison gate. In their world, all existing dimensional portals are connected to fragments of this gate. Entering the portal, our boy inquires about the true nature of alternate dimensions. Upon reaching the other side, Entropic explains that the creatures there are prisoners, and that what people call an alternate dimension is actually a vast interdimensional universe. The concept of imprisonment confuses him, and he demands more information. Entropic says that the answers will be revealed upon completing the upcoming trials. Before them, a massive tower appears. He stands. Entropic proudly declares that this is the sky-reaching tower, his greatest masterpiece, and simultaneously, this young man's testing ground. Our boy observes the tower's strange structure and notes that Entropic's twisted face matches the tower's unsettling aesthetic. The large tubes that frame the building resemble weapons material, leading him to think that Zhaoshang might be interested in them. Entropic is inwardly irritated. He thinks that if his anger gets too far, his soul might be shattered, and no one will care about him. When asked about the terms of the trial, Entropic explains that the sky-reaching tower has a total of 6 floors. With his current strength, even defeating the Shadow Wyvern on the first floor would be quite impressive. Our boy looks at the creature and asks if this small, dragon-like creature is really the fearsome Shadow Wyvern. He thinks it looks like a gecko. He casually extends his hand toward the tiny creature and says that attacking something so small is like bullying the weak. Entropic tells him. He lets out a laugh. He warns us that this joke won't last long. Our boy calls the creature Little Cutie and looks into its eyes. Suddenly, there's a huge explosion, completely startling him. The small creature grows to gigantic proportions in an instant. The system displays its information. A C-rank Shadow Viburnum with shadow enhancement abilities that increase its size, speed, and strength by 600%. Lei realizes that this enhancement is many times greater than his own shadow abilities, and his version looks like a cheap copy. Entropic explains that his constitution is too weak for the creature's natural abilities. The dragon advances toward him, but Lei refuses to accept this inferiority. He leaps up and says that a larger body has more blind spots, which he exploits. Quickly advancing toward the creature, he takes position in front of it and realizes that the shadow enhancement has given him extremely strong defensive capabilities. Entropic asks if he is hiding his true strength because of his weaknesses. The attacks are merely tickling the beast. Lei activates his shadow enhancement, but Entropic warns that if he can't tame the Crutcher, he won't be able to progress past the first floor. He launches countless strikes, but doesn't even inflict a scratch on the Y1. Entropic sees that his shadow enhancement control is quite refined and decides to increase the difficulty. He tells the dragon that it's probably hungry and suggests that Lei could make a tasty meal. The dragon opens its massive jaws towards him. It pounces. Lei barely understands what's happening but manages to escape the bite just in time. He asks if this pet has been vaccinated because it looks exactly like a rabbit. Entropic explains that its rapid movements have made it as appetizing as prey, which Crutcher wants to replenish his energy. Irritated by this unfair tactic, Lei complains that a fight should be fought with combat skills, not by devouring the opponent, because the creature looks so hungry. He decides to take a different approach. He goes to his storage. He pulls out several chicken drumsticks and throws them at the dragon, announcing his ultimate technique. The beast instinctively grabs a drumstick, which gives him the opportunity. He channels his energy into the food, and the dragon swallows it whole. The system confirms. Shadow Vern successfully tamed. Access rights to the first floor are unlocked. Entropic grumbles that this glutton always falls prey to food. After eating the drumsticks, the dragon returns to its normal size. Just then, another system notification comes. Binding and activation authority for the gate of the alternate progen possessed. The confused young man wonders what the true benefit of these new powers is. Entropic explains that after being infused with energy, each fragment transforms into a portal connected to the alternate progen. This means that by binding a fragment to an alternate dimension, he can open the portal at will. He is excited to have such useful abilities on the first floor and thinks about how valuable the rewards of the remaining 5 floors will be. Entropic is irritated by his cocky attitude. He goes because he cleared the first floor not with strength, but with cunning. To teach him a lesson, he sends them straight to the second floor. Entropic explains that the guards on the second floor are merely stewards and servants of the sky-reaching tower. Lei finds this explanation suspicious and fears he might encounter another transforming creature. The portal takes them up, and he notes that the first floor's pet was only a C rank, so the second floor won't be easy. Entropic tells him to observe it first, and then he challenges them to decide. They arrive before a massive gate. Entropic claims there's no real danger there. L opens the gate, but inside awaits them are several powerful creatures. A C-rank Thunder Serpent King, a C-rank Hydrodal, and a C-rank Lava Minotaur. L sarcastically remarks that these supposedly harmless servants look far too dangerous. The massive creatures prepare to attack, only to realize that the entrance behind them has automatically sealed. The snakes charge at him with deadly intent. It pounces, opening its massive jaws and declaring its intention to destroy the intruder. Lai immediately activates Shadow Joint. Then, using Shadow Enhancement and a massive speed boost, it passes through all the monsters in one smooth movement. It reaches the door at the end and slams it shut with all its might. Breathing heavily, it confronts Entropic about his deception. Entropic insists that he never lied. The creatures are really servants, though it also believes that Lei's abilities aren't strong enough to handle them effectively. Eli asks what the molten lava minotaur's function could be. Entropic calmly explains that it provides heating for the facility. Thunder King Snake generates electricity, while Hydro Turtle handles floor cleaning. Underwater creatures do the heavy lifting and other thieves within the tower. Suddenly, the system alerts that an A-rank life form is approaching. The arrivals are identified as Set and his father. Lei wonders why they arrived with such strange timing. But why have they come? But circumstances bring them to a meeting room for a discussion. Shi Wang reveals that he has received news of Lei's intention to directly confront the Black Panther gang. Lei confirms this and explains that since the Blood Panthers have already targeted him, it is better to take offensive action than to remain defensive. Shi Wang says that the Black Panther gang has provoked Dragon Gate 3rd Street several times, yet he has not retaliated for specific strategic reasons. He asks if Lei understands the delicate balance that forces him to act immediately. He stops them from taking it. Our boy gives the correct answer. The real reason is the fear of disrupting the existing power structure. Shuang confirms this and explains that Haicheng operates on a balance of 3 major forces. Waiko manages the political machinery as the city lord. Ningdong's group rules the economy, and Shuang himself wields enormous influence in both political and economic spheres. Even though he hates the Black Panther gang's years of merchant bullying and forced occupation, he cannot attack directly. There are 2 reasons behind this. There are dangerous possibilities. First, if he attacks the Black Panther gang, Ning and Wan Yu could form an alliance against him. Second, Ning and Shuang could suffer heavy losses, giving Wu Dianyu complete control of Heisi. Lei thinks that perhaps President Shi Wang doesn't want to drag the Qin family into the conflict, but Shi Wang, with a slight smile, makes a new proposal. Li Yi and Qian should form a new faction specifically to deal with the Black Panther gang. Lei immediately understands that this is a proxy war where they will be used as agents. He will go. Xiao Wang praises his ingenuity and explains the plan. He will provide the funding and manpower, while Li Yi and Xian will execute the actual operations. This will prevent other major powers from overreacting to the Qin family's direct involvement. Even if the plan fails completely, he can still use his political connections to manage the situation and ensure their safety. Eli is amazed at how President Xiaowang devised such a complete strategy in just one evening. However, Xiaowang's inner thoughts suggest otherwise. He thinks Li Yi has tricked him. What spell has he cast on his daughter? He regrets that his daughter's insistence on standing with Lei against the Black Panther gang has led him down this path. He calculates the cost, the money and resources, and on top of that, the risk of his daughter running away with this boy. He even considers sending Xian away, tying up Lei and throwing her away from the city. Lei notices the president's inner thoughts clearly reflected on his face, creating an awkward atmosphere. Xian intervenes and takes the conversation forward, asking Lei about his next plans. He explains that he will undertake missions involving every publicly accessible dimensional gateway in Hai Sing. He must go there himself. Chen agrees to make the necessary arrangements. Li's thoughts deepen. He believes that binding the fragments will be the beginning of the Black Panther gang's downfall. Chen introduces him to her fighters. She waves to the crowd, announcing that they have all passed rigorous tests. They are now part of the Shadow Gang and will follow her orders. The leaders bow and greet them both. Chen explains that it took a long time to decide on a name, so he chose the Shadow Gang, considering its powers. El says he likes the name. He looks at the leaders and sees that they're all high-level fighters. Such a team is truly powerful. El notes that everyone has their faces covered. When asked, Chen explains that the masks will prevent enemies from reaching their families, and that masks look good anyway. Li asks for a battle plan. Chen explains that they'll take over all the Black Panther gang's work. Every good-paying job will now be theirs. Lao wonders how they can manage so much work. We'll handle it. Chen assures him that they'll only take profitable tasks. For the rest, other schemes exist. Meanwhile, Bao becomes enraged when his worker brings bad news. He throws documents around and yells about the Shadow Gang stealing their business. Bao orders immediate revenge on the newcomers. Picture, admitting defeat, explains that the Shadow Gang always comes with 5 or 6 elite C-level warriors. The Black Panther Gang doesn't have that many SC-level members. Bao angrily mutters, "Where did this crew come from?" He releases the worker and orders him to purchase expedition passes. The cost doesn't matter. His team must enter the ventures. The worker reveals that future expedition spots have already been taken by unknown buyers. Bao's anger reaches its peak. He warns that if this opportunity to earn money is missed, the consequences will be dire. The worker flees for his life. Meanwhile, Li and Chen are sitting at their base discussing the results. Chen ends the call and reveals that the Black Panther gang has placed a heavy bid for expedition entries. The alien says he already knew this because they never miss profitable seasonal opportunities. Cheyenne asks for more details. Leia reveals the secrets of the mining business. Mine bosses and foremen steal valuable ore and rare materials throughout the season. Under the guise of repair schedules, these materials are quietly taken out and traded. The Black Panther gang usually robs these dealers by taking mercenary jobs. No one complains, so everyone keeps quiet. Now that their route is blocked, they are looking for opportunities to explore other worlds. Are buying expensive expedition tickets to go to the other world. Chen suspects that such an expensive ticket won't fetch much money. The alien agrees, but says his plan goes further. He reveals the real reason for his recent world travels. Lei opens a gateway with his hands and reveals that he has tagged every other world entrance around Haicheng. Now he can instantly create a short door to any world. His crew will track those who bought the expensive expedition passes and identify members of the Black Panther gang. Then, the attack will occur. Chen praises this strategy. Li sternly insists that his world-jumping abilities must remain a complete secret. Only loyal people will be involved in this mission. Chen offers to join herself because she enjoys risky adventures. Li smiles and accepts her help. Somewhere in the distance, A vehicle carrying 2 workers stops in an empty area. One worker tells old Wang that this delivery is very valuable. Wang expresses his gratitude on everyone's behalf and warns everyone to be vigilant. Suddenly, from the ground in front of him, sharp stones grow. Wang warns everyone. As they move forward, stone spikes erupt from the ground like blades. The driver gets off and checks the cargo's safety. Just then, a Black Panther member appears and confirms that the shipment is safe, but warns of impending danger, and the next moment, throws stone daggers at them. Everyone starts running in different directions, but he laughs and shouts, "Stop running," because his entertainment has just begun. Just then, Levi arrives and says, if he has to fight, he will be his opponent. He immediately activates shadow movement and attacks. The enemy, irritated, says that his fun has been ruined by the interference. Alisi steps forward and says that looting doesn't just cause one problem. The opponent is about to use his stone abilities when 52 strikes him in the face with full force, knocking him into a rock. The fighter, lying on the ground, groans in pain and asks who 52 is. He warns that if he makes a hostile move, those nearby will be enraged and show no mercy. Leahy calmly asks if he's referring to the D-rank fighters who have already fallen to the Shadow Gang. Hearing this, the enemy screams in disbelief. Just then, Chen arrives and asks what should be done with these captured enemies. Should they be completely eliminated? Leahy refuses this approach, as killing them all would give the Black Panther gang an easy excuse. He suggests a better strategy. The man is surprised at the plan. He orders him to go back and tell the Black Panther gang that this was all a plan by Lee and the Shadow Gang. Meanwhile, Bao lies in a hospital bed when reports come in that the Shadow Gang is involved in the recent attacks. He asks indignantly how Lee became so powerful so quickly. His assistant explains the situation. His men don't appear to be seriously injured on the outside, but medical scans reveal severe bone damage inside. Despite the best treatment, recovery will take at least 6 months. The man's treatment reaches 5 million, making a total of 30 million for the 6. Another message arrives, stating that their remaining 2 teams have also been defeated. Bao angrily grabs his subordinate by the collar and asks about the attacker. When he learns it was Li Yi again, he grits his teeth. The 3 alternate dimensions are hundreds of kilometers apart, making simultaneous attacks impossible, even with flight abilities. The subordinate shows him video evidence. The footage clearly shows Li Yi single-handedly defeating their forces. In the recording, Li spots the camera and approaches, warning him to back off. He mocks the weakness of Black Panther's underlings and directly challenges the leader to come forward in person instead of sending weak subordinates. He also mentions the long treatment and the enormous medical expenses. This final taunt completely shatters Ba. He smashes the tablet and vows to destroy Li completely.